Counting Principle and Probability. This lesson will review counting principle and probability and illustrate how they are used on the math portion of the ACT exam. Now let's head over to the classroom to review counting principle and probability. Okay, let's talk about counting principle. What is the counting principle? I'm going to read you what sounds like kind of complicated definition of what it is, and then I'm going to apply it to where it's used in the real world. The counting principle is if one event can occur in X ways, and for each of these ways a second event can occur in Y ways, then the possible number of ways they can occur together is in X times Y ways. Well, that sounds kind of complicated. To me, when I see this kind of situation is, I get hungry. I think of going out to a restaurant. And a lot of times you'll go to a restaurant and they talk about meal specials that they're going to have for the day. So say we go to a restaurant and they say they have meal combinations and you have choices in the following manner. You have 2 sandwiches. You have 3 sides to choose from. I don't know, fries, chips, how about some mac and cheese? And then they got 4 available drinks for you. Four drinks, so maybe you got coffee, water, soda pop, iced tea. So now that we're hungry, let's talk about how much we can eat, how many different ways we can make different meals out of this. Well, all you have to do by understanding that counting principle is just take the numbers and multiply them. So you're going to take 2 times 3 times 4, and that's going to give you the number of ways, meals, if you will, combinations that you can come up with. So 2 times 3, that's 6. 6 times 4, you got 24 different meals that you can kind of create from that special of the day. Now I know it seems silly, but a lot of times people would add those numbers, thinking they had to. If you start with 1 sandwich, you still got 3 sides. You got another sandwich. So you can see how quickly it does multiply. Guys, I've seen a lot of questions from review, and I know that you're going to see a question like this. This is an easy, quick, no-brainer. Get her done. Now let's talk about probability. What is probability? Well, it's basically a number between 0 and 1. And what is the probability of 0? Probability of an event occurring 0. That's represented like this, P of 0. That means this event's not going to happen. If you had a probability of 100%, that can be the same thing as a probability of 1. Because 100% written can be written as 1. What that means is it will happen. So what most times in math and on the ACT test, they're going to look at what about the probability between 0 and 100%. So what's my chances of this happening? There's a definition or a formula that goes with the probability of an event. Probability of an event, E standing for event, for it to happen. Basically, it's going to be like a fraction. We can write a fraction into a decimal and then into a percent. So that's why sometimes things are put in percents, decimals, or fractions, either way. You're going to take a look at, first thing I always look at is what is the total number of outcomes? And I'm going to put that on the bottom. And then what goes on top? What you're looking for. What are you trying to figure out? The number of favorable outcomes. Okay, a common example in this situation would be using a standard deck of playing cards. You have to know a little bit about cards to be able to answer this question, so let me give you a little background. You have 4 suits. You have hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades. And of each suit, you have 13. So if you take 4 times 13, that means you have a total of 52 playing cards. Now, we're not playing with jokers. Get those guys out of there. We're just a standard deck of playing cards. So we know if we're dealing with any card situation, if we're going to ask for a probability of an event of something, we know right away the bottom number is going to be 52 because that's how many cards we got. So have you ever been in that situation where you have somebody trying to show you a card trick? They take all the cards out, pick a card, any card, and then you pull it out. What's the probability of it being that card? Be 1 over 52. So that's kind of easy. So what if they pulled out a card and it was an ace, and you wanted to know, well, what's my chances of getting an ace out of all those cards? Well, you have to think about something. How many aces are there? Well, there's 4 suits. There's an ace of each suit, so there has to be 4. So if you wanted an ace, that's what you're looking for. It would be 4 over 52. And a lot of times on the ACT, they're going to reduce that fraction, so it would be 1 over 13. They could write that as a decimal or a percent, but a lot of times they'll write it as a fraction.